Hello, and thanks for inviting me to talk at this important conference. My name's John Barry. I'm a chartered psychologist and co-founder of the male psychology section of the British Psychological Society, and also the co-founder for the Centre for Male Psychology. This brief presentation is going to be about men's mental health. Most of you know that men's mental health can be severely impacted by family breakdown, causing suicide and lots of physical issues too, such as heart disease. Our study on this topic, sponsored by the charity Families Need Fathers, was published in 2020. It looked at the impact of family breakdown on mental health over the course of 12 months in a cohort of 29 men. We measured poor mental health using the Positive Mindset Index, and we found that the factors that were most strongly correlated with poor mental health were child access issues, family court issues, and arguments about family court issues. And these were all highly significant effects and all strong correlations. And it's notable that child access issues arose in 92.8% of the reports that we had over that 12-month period. There was a similar pattern for physical health problems, and these were strongly correlated with the child access problems, family court issues, and arguments over family court issues. These correlations were a little bit less strong than for mental health problems, but they're still highly significant. I'd like to talk now about another issue that impacts men's mental health, and that's the negative narrative around men and masculinity. Many of you will recognize the Duluth model, power and control wheel. And the Duluth model is an example of the outcome of having theories about men which cast men and masculinity in a highly negative light. So, for example, the Duluth model sees men as being socialized to being dominating and aggressive towards women. And of course, it's not just the Duluth model. There are many similar ideas that portray men in a similarly negative light. Probably the most common one in healthcare is hegemonic masculinity, and there are others too. And all of these have in common that they suggest that men are socialized in all sorts of negative ways, for example, to be aggressive and dominant towards women. Another example you might recognize is the APA guidelines for psychological practice with boys and men. And this suggested that traditional masculinity ideology is bad for your physical and mental health, and all sorts of other ways. The term toxic masculinity is another example. It has been extremely popular, but I've noticed about a year ago people starting to say things like, oh no, I don't think that masculinity is toxic. But if actually you look a little bit more closely, you'll find that what they're really saying is they don't think that masculinity is inevitably toxic, but they do believe that the type of masculinity that we have today in the West is socialized into something that's highly negative. And I think people found things like these ideas as represented in the Duluth model, and especially in the APA guidelines, really something that they thought was fundamentally wrong in terms of helping men. And this isn't just an academic or philosophical point about the origins of masculinity. I think people are right to reject these ideas because negative ideas about masculinity tend to lead to interventions like Duluth. And these interventions, certainly Duluth has proved that it doesn't work particularly well at all, and in some cases may even backfire. Yet, adopting these sorts of interventions and ideologies, these divert resources away from interventions that might work much better, but they don't get a chance because everyone's so focused on the negative narrative about masculinity. Very few people research the effect of the negative narrative about masculinity on men and boys, but my study, published in 2023 of 4,000 men in the UK and Germany, found that men who thought that masculinity had a negative impact on their behaviour had worse mental well-being. But we don't need to be negative about men and masculinity. And if you want to see a different approach in practice, you can download the Psychological Interventions to Help Male Adults document, which is guidance on how to do therapy for men, written by myself and consultant clinical psychologist Martin Seeger for the British Psychological Society. So thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation, and if you have any questions, if you want to find out any references from me about anything I've talked about here, please do email me at this address. Thank you.